Very good evening, friends. Deu Barisan's due. Muito boa tarde. And I have done my job of speaking all three languages. I feel actually grateful to Frederick for introducing me to this writer. I wasn't aware of him. And what we are actually releasing today is a glossary, it is a dictionary. But I assure you that I had fun reading it. I went through it and I enjoyed it because, as all of us know, these are our two home languages. Konkani and Portuguese is what we always spoke, I think even in our mother's womb. I still do. And since I don't have much family to talk to, I talk Portuguese to my dogs, excuse me. They're my family. But it's a language that I love. And I was really delighted to look at this book that has got various, what shall I say, various words in Konkani that we have used all our lives. My mother was from Salsette, my father was from Bangladesh. So if we saw a rat, sometimes it was Mundi, sometimes it was Hindu. Sometimes we ate masuri and sometimes we ate niste or nuste. So life is interesting and has always been for us. Since Frederick has already introduced the author, I will not say too much about where he was born and so on because you already know that. I must say that I was delighted to meet his family and to discover, I didn't know until this evening who he was related to, and I am so happy, so very delighted, almost as if I have known this gentleman personally. So, as Frederick wrote in the Navin Times on the 22nd of May 2022, his interests include studying Goa, music, photography, painting, and more. It only goes to show how the Goan takes Goa to whichever part of the globe he or she is located in, says Frederick, and how to. Of Francisco Xavier Valeriano de Sá. What did Francisco do besides his professional work? Some would call him a Renaissance man. He was so generous in his interests. His friend João Coutinho calls him Homem de sete ofícios. Shakespeare would have called him a man of many parts. Francisco was a photographer, a painter. He loved cooking. I believe he cooked an exceptional bibinka. He wrote many books. He loved music. He loved singing. He played the accordion and the guitar. He was a member of numerous music groups. He enjoyed visiting historical places, researching and writing about them. He was a member of the group ECHO, and he started a music and dance group for young people called Gamat. They performed in many places, including the Kala Academy Goa. He was a soft-spoken and helpful man, keen on his personal and family stories, and he loved sharing them. He passed away in 2023. Among the 15 books that he published, and these I will read for you slowly because you need to know the range of his interests. Vice-Reis e Governadores da Índia Portuguesa, published in Macau in 1999. Composições de Duarte Costa para guitarra portuguesa. The compositions of Duarte Costa for the Portuguese guitar. Transposição para guitarra portuguesa de músicas de Goa. Transposition to the Portuguese guitar of music from Goa. Páginas dispersas. Goês viajando pela história. Scattered pages. A Goan traveling through history. Padroado português do Oriente e os mitrados da Sé de Goa. Written in 2004. The Portuguese Padroado of the East and the Mitra of the Sea of Goa. Banco Nacional Ultramarino. Crônica do seu percurso. Banco Nacional Ultramarino, a chronicle of its journey. Patrimônio Heráldico Português em Goa, Damão, Ilhéu e Coxim. Published in 2013. The heritage of Portuguese heraldry in Goa, Daman, and Ilhéu and Coxim. São Francisco Xavier, St. Francis Xavier. Goa, Sabores, Saberes e Segredos. By him and his wife, Maya Olivia das Angústias da Costa de Sá and Francisco Xavier Valeriano de Sá, published in 2022. Translation: Goa, Flavors, Knowledge and Secrets. Glossario Konkani-Portuguese, Portuguese-Konkani. To tell you the truth, I wasn't quite sure of the meaning glossary. And I discovered it's a brief dictionary, which makes him a lexicographer. First published in Portugal in 2022, now published in Goa by Goa 1556 in 2025. Pretty wide range of interests in his writing, from music to historical themes, to cuisine, to biography, memoirs, and a dictionary. Fabulous, I say. The man. I have read some tributes from relatives and friends in Revista da Casa de Goa, published in 2024, soon after he passed away. And his friends and relatives, many of them, write about him as a very creative, multifaceted, and amiable personality. And one of his friends relates how he attended some big party somewhere and he tasted a bibinka. And he wanted to know who is the one who made this bibinka. It's extraordinary. And they said, Francis. He said, it had to be because this is really exceptional. So there you are. The glossary, today's book, is dedicated to the memory of Dr. Olivine Gomes, who assisted the author, wrote the preface, and edited an early version of the book. Dr. Gomes remarks in the preface on the history of the Konkani language in Goa, as well as regions like Kerala, Karnataka, and Maharashtra, and specifically small communities in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Chennai, and its ups and downs in the country for a variety of socio-political reasons. Sadly, Dr. Gomes passed away in 2009, before the book was published in Portugal in the year 2022. This glossary has 3 sections. The first one, Konkani-Portuguese. Second one, Portuguese-Konkani. And the third is a short one that he calls diversos, miscellaneous, where he gives us the days of the week, the names of the months, numbers, and measurements. It's a small section. Why did Francisco write this glossary? I scratched my head, you know. Why did he write it? Basically, I realized it was a labor of love, not lightly undertaken. And he says, foi trabalho árduo e cansativo. So you can understand. it was really difficult. He was encouraged, he says, by his wife. He wrote it for the speakers and writers of these languages residing in Goa, as well as those Goans in the diaspora who love the language and use the Roni script. He was motivated because no dictionary is available to a writer of Konkani in Roni script except for the one by Monsignor Sebastian Rodolphe Dalga, published more than a century ago. It was published in 1905. Who is the book useful to? To writers, to translators, to new learners of these languages. It's interesting that the author gives many instances of the different versions of the same word. Badesh and Salse Konkani, he has included them in the book. Indur, Undi, Piscati and Isuri, Piao, Nikando, Masuri and Muste and Miste. Our languages flavor our lives in diverse ways. Konkani and Portuguese have been a deep part of our existence. Sometimes both languages side by side, sometimes a blend of languages in one single sentence that we speak in familiar language. A Portuguese person would probably say, "O que é que tu dizes?" E nós, goeses, que falamos português, dizemos às vezes, "O que dizes, Gotu?" Em minha casa era assim que se falava o português. O que disseste, Gotu? Um português diria, vais indo? E nós dizemos, já vais ler? Foi o que ela disse realmente? Ela disse assim, are? É o nosso português que nós falamos corretamente. Meaning, really, truly. In other words, vá-se embora. Portuguese has added many words to our daily Konkani. There was a student of mine who was from Goa, but she was born in Mumbai, Bombay in those days, and she was married to a local Goan. And she came and told me, I don't know what Konkani these people speak, you know. My mother-in-law told me, Sadan dos, and zonela chelat dol latear. And she said, Hali kite, sal munche kite, zonel munche kite, lat munche kite. I don't understand, she said. Go into the hall and bring the tin which has been kept on the window. So this is our Konkani. Did Konkani influence Portuguese? In common parlance, in Goan Portuguese, there are new words. Baizita, baizinha, babazinho. There are other words, Konkani words that we have not changed, which we use. Baba, babush, ai saiba, aboige, saiba babos. Part of our language, we don't know what is Portuguese, what is Konkani. We speak interchangeably these words. This art glossary has arrived at the right time when Konkani in the Roni script is gaining greater public attention. I must tell you with a lot of excitement that interesting research work in the School of Languages at Goa University is happening as we speak. Once upon a time they were called Department of English, Department of French. There's a new wisdom now. They are now called School of Languages. And there is Portuguese, there is French, there is Konkani, there is Marathi, there is Hindi, there used to be Spanish. And they are getting on famously together. They are working together and they are doing a lot of research, which makes me extremely happy. Students from other states of India are studying Portuguese in Goa for academic purposes and for reasons of employment. from Bihar are learning Portuguese. The study of Konkani and creative writing in Konkani is also now growing compared to a few years ago. The glossary indicates that both these languages could be further made accessible to possible learners. And I will end by telling you about a dream that I have. I feel that our history has given us a historical accident, a cultural accident. It has given us access to a whole lot of languages. Sadly, we use them as weapons. This language against that one. My dream is that in schools, children will be taught many languages. No exams, thank you. So parents will not be able to protest. Anyway, the little ones have a great ability for languages and there are no exams. So I can't understand what is the big deal about one young mother is telling me, my son has to learn oral Hindi in the class. I said, wonderful, isn't it? But they don't think it's wonderful, they think it's a burden. My dream is that in a few years' time, people in Goa will learn a handful of languages when they are smallies. So they will enjoy them and they will be able to communicate with the whole world. And I'm very happy to learn that Mandarin is going to be taught in Uttarakhand. I read that in yesterday's paper. And so you see, there is hope for my dream. The glossary is useful, and I assure you, it's fun to read. And so, thank you, Frederick, for the opportunity to get to know this wonderful Goan writer. Thank you.
That was virtually an attempt. My friend, Mukesh just retired from Akashvani as a news reader. This took 5 years, though we divided it into 2 halves. And then this came in 2003. This was in 99. This came in 2003. And I have not compiled this. This was compiled by Mukesh's uncle, Prakash Thareja. I am the editor of this. And the second edition is soon coming out. After तुमका आने सांगला, I will just come to that. This is a pride for Konkani. This is a pride for Goa and all the Konkani people. Not because it is mine, because it is Konkani. I worked at the university from 9 to 11, 2 years. It was on a project, all India project, 22 languages. And we used to meet together in 2-3 months. We went even to as far as Shillong and Coimbatore, Mumbai IIT. So at one of the, on one occasion, though it is a load, 3 kilos weight, but the weight does not carry any weight. This carries weight. So I took the dictionary just to ask the people there whether they have this in their language. And it was after a dinner that they got together in the hotel and just slipped out and got the dictionary. It was a good idea because all of them were together. And I said, do you have this in your language? This? What is this? I said, it's a dictionary. Just like Oxford English. So, who made it? I said, the person speaking to you has made it. Who is it? Oh, look. So then everybody was excited. They stopped. I have brought this only to ask you whether it is in your language. There was a big no. So I said, Konkani is the language that has this, which other languages do not have. आता कोणी म्हाका विचारता तेन्ना हांव पुर्तुगेज उलयलो हांवें पुर्तुगेज हाजे भशेन आय कांट स्पीक लायक हिम तूं पुर्तुगेज शिकला हय हांव पुर्तुगेज शिकला in 1990. So how old were you when the Portuguese left? Just small, 6 years old, just beginning to in the first standard. म्हणटकच तांकां मागीर ते म्हणटात so how do you speak Portuguese? So I said I learned it in 1990. So I have compiled these 3. Plus there is one more that is compiled by 14 teachers of Konkani. Teachers and non-teachers. My sister is also involved. And that I have edited. That is Marathi Konkani. And we are now going to have soon a Konkani Marathi dictionary. Because my publisher, Rajhans, Mr. Prabhakar Vide from Raibandha, he's mad. He's mad with knowledge. He wants as many dictionaries as possible. Now, right now, if you go and see, office must be closed. But on his table, there are 5 or 6 Portuguese-Portuguese dictionaries. The biggest one is Sebastian Dalga. And I think he is my guide. Sebastian Dalga, there is no comparison, and there will be no comparison for the next at least 100 years. He has made a voluminous work. And Pai Kapya Astana with diabetes, you know that? With diabetes, he was in Portugal. Pai Kapya Astana, on the bed he compiled the dictionary. So, madman. So, dictionary makers are madmen. Always. Why should I spend life when there is better opportunity? So, this dictionary, both these are mainly meant for translators. And here, this we have given the oblique form of only feminine nouns. We thought that that would suffice. But then when we made this one, this big one, my guide and teacher, Suresh Jaganporkar, he has written the Konkani grammar also. So he said that only feminine nouns would not be enough. So we have to give the oblique forms of masculine, feminine and neuter nouns also. Por que ani tem. Konkani tem essa. Tem Bengali noun. Bengali means Guspata. Tem. And it comes to a neuter noun. The Bengali speaker gets confused. What is thing? This is neuter. This is neither masculine nor feminine. So we gave that, and then we gave whether it is a noun, adjective, adverb. Then, as I told you, the oblique form. What is an oblique form? In Konkani we call it Samanya Roop. Samanya Roop means common noun. It is one word, Samanya Roop. It's an oblique form. The OED, Oxford English Dictionary, of which I have a huge copy. I'm also mad at buying dictionaries that I bought at a discount at an exhibition which was closing at 9, and I bought it at 8:50. So I just pressurized the person to sell me at a discounted rate. He said, take it for 850. Price is 900. Was 900. Take it for 550. I'll pay you 800. But not now. I don't have the money. Tomorrow I will pay. So the next day I went here. But I took the dictionary home that night. That was the biggest. That's the biggest Bible paper dictionary, and I still use it. So OED gives the meaning of oblique form as, in some Indian languages, the noun takes a twisted form. That is the oblique form, because they cannot exactly define it. We can exactly define it in Konkani.
Very enlightening talk, and it is people like you who will take the language forward. And I think that waiting for the government is like waiting for Godot, will never come. So there's the last speaker for today is Father Dr. Pratap Naik. He was a young priest when I knew him in the 90s. We were young then. And together with Father Matthew Almeida, he played a key role in building the Thomas Stevens Konkani Kendra. I won't tell you much about him, but one insight into his life is that he's a priest with green fingers, as I called him that. He started a garden in Portuguese, where he had one species of about 125 different trees. And he had put beautiful tables with the English, Latin, and sometimes Konkani names, sometimes which he had to coin the names in Konkani. So Father is going to speak today on the contributions of the missionaries in dictionary making. Please.
Everybody sounds different. This is how we greet in Konkani to one another. The Portuguese Jesuit missionaries introduced 4 greetings: Deo Borodistiu, Deo Bari Samstiu, Deo Bari Ratdiu, Deo Bareko. This is widely used by Catholics wherever they are Konkani speakers. But all the Hindus in Goa and outside Goa, they will use Deo Bareko. Thank you. Obrigado, Portuguese. The first speaker, Dr. Isabel, spoke about Francisco's contribution to Portuguese-Konkani Glossario. Second speaker, Mr. Damodar Ganekar, spoke about his contribution to Konkani language. Let me tell Damodar, if you come just now with me, the dictionaries which he showed, Konkani-Portuguese, Konkani English Konkani, and what Dr. Frederick showed, Konkani dictionary, they are my colleagues, they are on my table, all the time to use. Of course, there are other dictionaries of Bolsinjo, Talgado, and other things. I am going to speak about the contribution of European missionaries to Konkani vocabularies, Konkani-Portuguese, Portuguese-Konkani, in Goa from 16th to 18th century. A Jesuit scholastic, Eduardo Leitão, from St. Paul's College, Old Goa, wrote a letter to Jesuits in Portugal. The letter is dated 16th November 1570. It is written in Portuguese, and it is found in Documenta Indica, volume 8, page 324, and Documenta Indica in many multiple volumes are found in Xavier Center of Historical Research, Alto. He writes, of course, the translation in English. It is not difficult now as in the past, as the grammar and the vocabulary have been made, and also there are those who can teach it. He's talking about Konkani language. Those days, the word Konkani didn't exist. It was called lingua canarina, lingua de Goa, lingua de terra, like different names. The name Konkani came a little later. From this letter, we can deduce that the first Konkani-Portuguese vocabulary was compiled prior to 1570. And in those days, except Sanskrit and Pali languages, none of the modern Indian languages had a dictionary. It is either lost or maybe lying in one of the libraries or archives in Europe. Since then, Jesuit, Franciscan and one Carmelite missionary from Europe, mainly the Portuguese, have compiled at least 21 vocabularies, which I have a complete list. Some of them are Konkani-Portuguese, others are Portuguese-Konkani. Some of them are lost, and some are found in Portugal, Rome, London, Central Library, Goa archives. And when I was at the Thomas Stevens Konkani Kendra, Burberry, I got either Xerox copy or microfilms, and they are preserved there in Burberry. Of these, I would like to show you 3 vocabularies. This is the first one. Vocabulario da Lingua Canari by Diogo Ribeiro, completed the work 1626. The original manuscript is in Central Library, Panji. Professor Pandro Kisurlenkar got it typed, this manuscript. Somehow it landed up in one of the second-hand bookshops in USA. And that shopkeeper said, what is the use of this? It simply occupies space. So he wanted to discard it. But to our luck, to Konkani people, Professor Toru Maruyama of Nansen University, Japan, visited that shop. He didn't know Konkani, but he is a Japanese and old Portuguese scholar. He saw that and was fascinated by that manuscript, though he didn't understand a single word of Konkani. But given the equivalent in Portuguese, he bought it for a throwaway price. He studied, he edited, and he published this in 2005. This is my constant companion. It is Konkani-Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese, but I understand what is written. Now he has re-edited and is waiting for a publishing. He has also given now Konkani, Portuguese and English. The second one, Vocabulario da Lingua Konkani-Porttuguese. My pronunciation may not be right, but this is the name of this. This is an enlarged version of the previous Diogo Ribeiro's dictionary, done by Jesuits. Probably it was compiled by Miguel de Almeida, a Jesuit, or Antonio Saldana, a Jesuit of those days. It was printed as a facsimile edition by the Portuguese people in Lisbon in 1973 by Junta Ultramar. Facsimile edition. as it was written, you can see. This is handwritten. And the previous one is printed. And the third one, I would like to show. 2-volume vocabulary or dictionary may call Vocabulario of the Konkani language in the early 17th century with English translation and philological comments, preliminary version, prepared by Professor Roque Peralta, who is in Mysore but a sickly person. He could not carry on with that work. So Professor Toru Maruyama requested him to give his works, and Toru Maruyama edited these 2 volumes. Now these 2 volumes contain Diogo and the second vocabulary I showed you of Junta edition, and plus one more vocabulary of a Jesuit. So all 3 are combined in this and they are published. Missionaries used Roman alphabets with diacritical marks to represent the speech sounds of Konkani. And they were quite accurate. Due to this, linguists like me can study the linguistic features of Old Konkani. Example, in Old Konkani, all the words end in either in a vowel or a diphthong. The modern orthographies of Devanagari and Roman scripts used for Konkani now are inadequate to write Old Konkani. Let me give an example. In Old Konkani, it is Yeku Disu. This we can write, whether it's a Devanagari or Roman script, we can write. But in Old Konkani, Doni Disa, not this, Doni Disa. How to write in Devanagari script? You can't write. If you write, they will say this. Damodar Babu will know. You will understand. In Roman script, no. But Kannada script, yes. You can write Doni Disa. This is different from Disa. Anyway. The Konkani-Portuguese vocabularies not only give the equivalents but also provide oblique form which he spoke about. Oblique forms in Konkani is required. Like you take word amo. Amo means mango. To add suffixes, you have to change that amo to ambia. Then only you can say ambia to the mango, ambia on the mango, ambia so of the mango. Because Konkani language doesn't have prepositions like English. We have postpositions. The postpositions cannot be added to the root word. The form has to change. That is called oblique form, which Mr. Damodar Ganeka spoke about. The missionaries give oblique form of all the nouns. And this I brought up to the attention of Mr. Suresh Golkar, your guru, and said, Suresh Pal, you have given oblique forms of only of feminine nouns. Others are required. He was a very open-minded person and he accepted. And that's how in the Konkani dictionary of Damodar Ganeka, there is oblique forms of all the dictionary, all the nouns. The missionaries also gave socio-cultural information. Example, in Old Konkani there is a word called Sir. It's a feminine. What is the meaning they give? A handful of rice that is cast on the heads of the newlyweds ceremonially when they get married. This is the explanation they give in Portuguese. In Diogo Ribeira's vocabulary, I found only 5 Konkani words which are borrowed from Portuguese. There may be a few more, but I couldn't get. In Konkani word, let me say, the which are borrowed. Igreja, probably from Portuguese igreja. Cristão, Christians. Casu, Chavi, probably Portuguese, chave. Then Misal, of course Portuguese maybe Misal. From 1625 onwards, Portuguese words entered Konkani along with the respective objects. That was we didn't have bench, bank, we say bank, or mass, we didn't have. So the words from Portuguese also entered Konkani. Portuguese words have enriched the Konkani vocabulary. According to Sebastião Delgado's Konkani-Portuguese dictionary published in 1893, he gives 640 Portuguese words. I counted from page to page. But in the spoken Konkani, especially of the Catholics, there are plenty of Portuguese words. I have not made a list of all those words. Now, due to the influence of English, they are getting replaced by English words, which is really, it is also part of the language process. Majority of the Portuguese words blend well with Konkani phonetic and phonemic system. This I can definitely say as a linguist. For example, in Konkani we have the word gaon. Gaon means village. Now means the name. Zam, let it be. See how we borrowed from Portuguese and blended with Konkani. Buyam, Besam, Irmão, Tessão, Missão, Pergão, Calção, Pulchão, Varesão, Capelão, Lição, Putão, Maldição, Picação. So, very Konkani. English words don't fit in Konkani phonetic system. No. At times, the Portuguese words were retained as they are. For example, altar, masculine, in Konkani was altar, masculine, altar. Casado, masculine in Portuguese, and in Konkani, casado, masculine. At times, Portuguese words are nativized to Konkani sounds. For example, in Konkani we say render, padre, mis, change a little bit from Portuguese. Missionaries used the modified Roman script to write and print Konkani. Their writings reached Europe. Due to this, two important things happened. First, in Europe, people came to know the existence of a language called Konkani. Otherwise, it would have taken maybe a few more centuries to know. Already in 16th century, they came to know there is a language called Konkani in Goa. Second, the missionaries discovered there is similarity between Konkani, Latin and Greek. They were quite surprised how this is possible. So they did in-depth study, especially the Jesuit, Italian Jesuit Father Ignazio Arcamone, and came to the conclusion these languages are related. Of course, later on, Sir William Jones studied Sanskrit and all, and definitely established. So, in linguistics, we have a sub-branch called comparative linguistics. The foundation was laid here in Goa by the Jesuit missionaries for this. And coming to my last point, the opponents of Roman script for Konkani accused the missionaries on two grounds. First, they say the missionaries produced grammars, vocabularies, literature, not out of love for Konkani, but to propagate their religion. Whatever may be their motive. You show me now one person who does work for Konkani, pure for the love of Konkani. That is some self-love, self-interest. So missionaries did it. and we benefited. Second, they say missionaries have corrupted the language without knowing the history of language, whether it is old Konkani or old Marathi, words ended in vowels or diphthongs. Now that is changed. If these missionaries had used one of the Indian scripts, the opponents would have praised the contribution of missionaries, and that would have been taught in our universities and colleges. Now that is not much done, little bit here and there. I am grateful to these European missionaries who came to Goa. They contributed, not only missionaries, but Portuguese people contributed in many aspects of our life here, which I cannot speak. You are aware of it. From our surnames, from our names, from our flora, our customs, our food habits, and so many things. But I am grateful to them for maintaining and keeping the record of my language, Konkani, which I can study. So they are no more with us, but their works are with us. I am grateful to them, and I am grateful to. He doesn't like to be called doctor, but he is a doctor, Dr. Frederick Barona, for giving me an opportunity to place before you few of my observations. Thank you.
It's a great pleasure to be here this evening for the launch of this glossary. And after hearing and listening to our distinguished and eminent panelists this evening, I must admit that I am neither an accomplished linguist or a lexicographer, nor am I fluent in Portuguese and Konkani. So, Doctor, please excuse me. I'll speak in English. But the only criteria that perhaps Frederick found that qualified me to come and speak to you today is that I am related, very closely related to the author. In fact, he is my uncle, my dad's youngest brother. We also have another two people who are closely related to my uncle, and that is his niece Cynthia and nephew Robin, who are the children of Francisca's eldest sister. So they are also here today. So on this joyous occasion of the launch, I thought and felt compelled that I should share some of the insights and glimpses into his life. A major part of it has already been brought out by Dr. Isabella in the introduction, so that makes my speech shorter by another 3 minutes. So I'll just take another 3 more minutes to enlighten you to what triggered my uncle to come up with all these 15 books that he has come up with. He, my uncle was a multifaceted personality, and he had many interests and hobbies that he would pursue very passionately. He had a very good flair, a wonderful flair for writing, and that was what anchored everything, all his hobbies together, and he transformed these hobbies of his into books that he could share his knowledge with the others. Another thing is, whenever he traveled, he was always armed with with a camera of a very high resolution, so that he captured whatever photographs in very vivid format that he could finally illustrate into his books and made these books so interesting and so attractive. And I was fortunate to, every time my uncle would come down from Lisbon, he would invariably go to visit here, visit there, armed with his photograph, with his camera, and I would take him around. And he was working on this book on viceroys and this thing, and governors and many other governors, this Portuguese people. And I was privileged, to go around with him. And Father is here today. He was the one who gave us permission to go to the Bishop's Palace, to remove certain photographs which had been depicted in his books. So what triggered him to write these books? He had a very distinguished career with Banque Nationale Ultramarine. And he rose up in that organization right from, joining it as a young officer. He grew up. And perhaps that motivated him to come up with a book which he dedicated and chronicled the journey of that organization or that bank right from its inception to the time he retired. That was what he wrote on his bank, on the bank. Then Goa was always ingrained in his heart, and he delved very deeply into its history and culture, and that is how he came out with books. Like how I said on the viceroys and governors of Goa. There was another where he depicted the coat of arms of this nobleman who came to Goa and settled down and died. So that was another book he wrote. He was his patron saint, or his favorite saint was Saint Francis Xavier, after whom he was named and in whose church he got married. So that again inspired him to write an entire book detailing the history of Saint Francis Xavier, including showing the relics that were in various parts of the world, and they're beautifully photographed and brought up in that book of his. A family pilgrimage to the Holy Land again motivated him to write on the footsteps of Jesus, and that is another book also that is beautifully photographed. Like Doctor said regarding the biddings, yes, he was an excellent cook, and when my wife and I went and spent time with him in Lisbon, we were really treated to some excellent and exotic dishes that he prepared for us during our stay. Bidding was one of them, but there were many, many more. And that love or that culinary expertise that he had again inspired him to write a book on cooking, which when the title when translated as it's the flavors and secrets of Goan cuisine. And that book was authored along with his wife Maya, who expired before him. Finally, there are many books of which I could go on and go on. But the latest book is this one, O Talento que Deus me deu, the talents that God has given me. This is my favorite. The only reason is there is completely less Portuguese here written. And most of it is all in the form of all his paintings and his sketches and his portraits that he did. Some of these are even self-portraits that he did of his own. The others are of my father, of his sisters, of his wife, children, and many, many more. And they are so realistic that they often look like photographs. Many of these books are already there, personally autographed by him. They are not for sale. I just brought them so others could share it. And so you see, he was a multifaceted personality with whom I interacted many times. Even the photographs, that he clicked right from the time when those negatives were there. Even those rolls were he catalogued them so minutely and used to keep them in boxes and label them within which year it was clicked and all this. So very meticulous man. And that is perhaps what led him to success and bring out these 15 books. Regarding this glossary, I didn't have the opportunity to discuss with my uncle, but just before this launch, I spoke to his son Sergio as to what made him go into this glossary. And most of the reasons are what I have already been brought, that because of this Portuguese influence, a lot of words, there was a reciprocal influence of language between these two languages, and many of the words from one language blended or crammed into the other. And there was a space here which he thought he could address or contribute, where he could bring out a glossary so that anytime anybody wanted to refer, there was a ready reckoner for them to refer and navigate between these two languages. I want to thank on behalf of my uncle's family, I want to thank Frederick for launching out this Go edition here. I want to thank Dr. also for facilitating this launch, and thank each one of you for coming here. Perhaps that glossary will help you in your next trip to Portugal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Carlos. You made our work easier by getting the vote of thanks also. We have not done anyone a favor. I just think it's a very useful book, and Goa deserves such books. And it's easy to do it nowadays, so we will do our best. Time for questions.